Hey there, Chadi Bazzi here, and welcome to another episode of the Top Listing Agent Show. Yeah, Top Listing Agent is the majority of the conversation we have, and we brought you an amazing guest today that is an expert on the topic. And I've been wanting her on this show for quite a while, and we finally are here, and I am going to pick her brain for you like it ain't nothing. I'm going to extract all that golden nuggets from her and deliver it to you. So if you're watching this, grab a pen and paper. If you're listening to this, grab a pen and paper, take some notes, because the information that we're going to share with you can and will transform your business. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Jess, whose last name I'm going to attempt to pronounce. So Jess, introduce yourself. Tell the world who you are and how amazing you are.
So I'm Jess Lenouvel. Difficult last name, but you know what? My maiden name was even worse. So, and yeah, I'm the owner and founder of the Listings Lab. I was myself an agent for 14 years before I stopped selling and founded the Listings Lab. I grew up in the business. My mom's been an agent for 35 years. So I think I started doing her paperwork at about 13. And so, yeah, I've just did, real estate's in my blood, but I definitely go about things a little differently than I think most do.
Then that's going to make our conversation very interesting today. And I want to hear all about it. So 14 years practicing real estate, just so we can have an idea, what was business like for you before you hung up that hat and you said, let me show other people how to do what I do?
Yeah. So, I mean, I got into the business when I was 21. So I was young and very, very shy, to be honest. And I remember my brokerage saying, you've got to door knock and cold call and flyer and billboard. And I thought, I can't do that. That's not me. And I tried and it felt so unnatural. And eventually I just got to a point where I was like, if this is how I have to run my business, this isn't for me. And so I started, Facebook was brand new thing, right? I'm dating myself, but I realized that there was this huge audience of people who I could communicate with and give value to and build relationships with, that it seemed like the real estate industry hadn't really tapped into it yet. So I used to call it prospecting for my PJs. I would
prospecting for my PJs. Who wouldn't want that, right?
Right. So I used to sit on my couch in my pajamas and on my computer and just talk to people. And, I used the classified section as my lead generation source, which, is very different than it is today. But, I just started conversations, gave value, and then eventually most of those people ended up as clients. Because my mom was in real estate already for 20 years, my sphere was her sphere. Mm-hmm. So who are they going to choose? Were they going to go with my mom, who had 20 years of experience and was a grown-up, or were they going to go with me, 21 years old, brand new into the industry? I mean, I know what I would have chosen if I was in that situation, right? So I didn't have my sphere really to lean on. So I found a different way. And it really shifted over time. It started that way. I actually built myself, a decent multiple six-figure business with that methodology and with that client base. And then after several years, I would say like 8-9 years, I realized that I was playing it small, that I was capable of a lot more, and I'd gotten really comfortable just doing what I'd been doing. So I made a little bit of a mindset shift where I stopped looking at myself as a realtor and I started really thinking of myself as a marketer. And I went outside the real estate industry to figure out in other service-based industries what was really working from a digital marketing standpoint. I mean, in my opinion, real estate is usually a couple years behind. We're a little slow to adapt. Agents tend to be very stuck in their ways. And I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this so much. A lot of the people, and I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of the people who are teaching newer agents, younger agents, are people who built their businesses in a completely different time, in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And we live in a completely different world than they did when they built their businesses. So I think that really what happened is I went outside, I learned as much as I possibly could, and I brought it back into real estate and I just started testing. We went from essentially like a couple 100,000 a year to $1 million in 6 months.
Wow.
So the business exploded. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't leveraged, and I burnt out hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really where that's at that point is when I actually started building my team, and we continued to scale from there. I never built a big team. I was always really about lean, efficient family, right? So we ended up doing somewhere between 250 and 300 deals a year with two and a half agents, someone in marketing, and an administrator.
Hundreds of deals in 1 year, 7 figures. I want to highlight that because I want everyone to, like, literally, if you're listening to this while you're working out or you're driving or you're multitasking, stop it, because we just set the stage. I mean, when somebody is doing magnificently way more than you are, you better pay attention and model in the footsteps of that real estate giant. So Jess, amazing. And I think one of the things that you did great, very good, is you said, hey, the real estate industry is always at least a couple of years behind, whether that be on technology or, how the world is changing, and you got to adapt to it. And some people like today don't even know how to use Facebook. And I'm like, come on now, like everybody is living on Facebook, and you got to use that. So you started to use digital marketing, and that totally scaled your business, I think, beyond your expectation in the first 6 months, because you weren't prepared for it.
100%. And I didn't know what to expect. I mean, now we have enough data all the time to know trajectories and where things are going. But I think the really important thing to remember is that agents, for the most part, in my opinion, are too realistic with their goals, right? Oh, well, I did 30 deals last year. I want to do 35 this year. And I think that it's this mentality of things have to grow slowly, but exponential growth it happens everywhere. It happens all the time. It's just a matter of, are you set up for it? And are you creating a business model at the end of the day that is unlimitedly scalable? And I think that so much that's taught in real estate is manual and is one-to-one. Right. And the key to scalability is, how can you do something like a podcast, right? Just as one example, I'm having one conversation and it's going out to many. Same thing with digital marketing, with social media, with things like that. I think so many people think, you hear, your business will grow based on how many conversations you have. You need to have more conversations. Well, we don't live in a world anymore where you are limited by how many lunches you can have, right? We have these platforms and this ability to get in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people with a super relevant message that's going to connect with them, and leverage your voice. Create a bigger platform, create a bigger audience. And I think that the way that I look at it is, you're almost like an entrepreneurial influencer, right? You can dominate a marketplace in less than a year. We have a guy who joined us last year around March. He was really struggling. Great realtor, not a great marketer. He had $29 in his bank account. I didn't know that at the time. He did $800,000 in 8 months.
Wow.
And 100% of it came from organic social media.
So I want to stop you right there, because I mean, what you're saying is so profound and goes way beyond the mind of the average person who is listening to this, because they're thinking they're going to go from $29 to $2,900 and eventually $29,000. But to go from peanuts to almost $1 million is way beyond the scope of the average person thinking. So, and what we're talking about here is a quantum leap. And I want to address that real quickly is a quantum leap doesn't have to take a long time. It might take a little bit longer than you want it to, but the keywords are a little bit, not a lot of bit. So anyone can have that quantum leap. And your methodology in terms of like, digital marketing and all that good stuff, I am all for that 100%. And yeah, I want to kind of like not challenge that, but on the other side of it,
yeah,
there's the people that, just don't want to spend the money on marketing, and maybe don't legitimately have the money to spend
100%.
on marketing. And to that person, I say, that's fine. Use all your other resources, like even picking up the phone. I mean, I had a gentleman I was working with out of Chicago. He's been on the Top Listing Agent Show. And we took him from 3 deals to over 100 deals in 12 months, which is another quantum leap with zero money spent on advertising. So we want to talk to 2 people right now, Jess, okay?
Well, the other thing too that I want to just point out is that the example that I just gave wasn't with ads. It was 100% organic.
You really got my attention now. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. Okay. So then we're going to talk to 3 different kinds of people.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay. So first of all, let's talk to the agent. Before we even have that, something else I want to say. Because you said realtor versus marketer. Like when you speak to people, what are you? I'm a realtor. Okay, well, what does that really mean? Okay. Can you speak about like, the difference between a realtor and a marketer?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you get into real estate, we all did this, right? You get into real estate, you're like, I'm good with people. I'm getting a license. I'm going to do this job. And then you get into the business and you realize there's a whole other side of the job, right? You can be the best agent in the world, but if you don't have any clients, you don't get to be that really fantastic agent. And I think that's the struggle of so many people out there where they're like, I care more. I'm really good at what I do. I just want to be able to do it with more people. Right. And so for me, what I realized is that there are a lot of fantastic agents out there. And I've worked with people in my programs where I'm like, that person's a better agent than I was. But the differentiating factor was that I was a better marketer.
You could be the best at something, and if nobody knows about it, then ain't nobody gonna experience that best of something that you know, only you have. So I'm a new agent. Yeah. Let's talk to the new agent, because a lot of new agents listen to this show. Okay. So they come in with little money. Okay. They're little money because, they got to pay the board and this and this. And
it's not cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And you got their attention right now, and they want to get started doing something online. Where do you believe is the best place to begin that journey?
Facebook.
Okay.
Only because you're going to have usually more of a qualified audience on Facebook than you are on any other platform. Now, the accounts that I always suggest people have are Facebook personal, Facebook business, and 1 Instagram, just to start. You don't need more than that. And I think that a lot of the time people will say, well, I need this business and this personal and this business and this personal. And there is absolutely no way that you're going to be consistent on 8 different accounts. Right? So the most important thing in the beginning is consistency and frequency. So that's how you build trust, right? It's just human psychology. Consistently and frequency, there's something called the mere exposure effect. The more you see someone in your newsfeed very like on a daily basis, the more trust you'll build with that person, as long as their content is relevant to you and is valuable.
Right.
So I think that, Facebook and if you have 300 friends on Facebook, go out there and get yourself to 5,000 friends. They don't have to be people that you know. Go into local Facebook groups, go out into other places on Facebook. Don't add 500 realtors because you just got a real estate license. At the end of the day, that's not who you want to fill your list with. So go out to, your local community Facebook group, anybody who fits the demographic of who you want to serve. Whether they're upsizers, downsizers, first-time buyers, you can look at their profile and get a pretty good idea. Add them as a Facebook friend. And then,
I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm going to add. So this is like like this is, look, as basic as it may seem to you, for
Yep.
somebody this is like gold. And I want to expand on it because you and I talk to agents all day, every
All
single
day.
day, and,
Yeah.
and we think they know, but they really don't know. So
Mhm.
this is very good. So I'm thinking to myself, as if I don't know that information, and I want to extract this information for our audience so we can help them out. So I love the advice that you gave me right now. I'm going to go to local, groups, and I'm going to look for, people that are, I can do search inside the group for the word like wedding, the word, divorce, the word, birthday, etc., life events. And,
Yep.
those people post will show up. And if they fit the kind of person I think I want to work with or in the market, then I want to friend request them, right?
And you know what? Not everyone's going to accept it. And
Bingo.
that's okay.
Bingo. So how many friend requests should I be doing every single day, and how many days a week?
I would say about 20 to 30. Facebook doesn't like you to do too many.
Okay. So a good number would be, let's just say 20 a day. If we did that 5 days a week, that's 100 a week. Okay. Of which 50 of them will accept you.
Mhm.
Within a year, you probably almost tapped out your 5,000 friends. There you go. You went from a nobody to a somebody all of a sudden, right?
You have an audience.
You have an audience. Okay. So now, once that person accepts my friend request, should I send a message? Should I not do anything? What should I do?
So I usually say don't send a message right away. I think cold messaging is something that is a little bit out of date. I think it used to work because people weren't getting bombarded with them. If you have a LinkedIn profile, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I would suggest you do is, interact with their content, because I think that's the other thing that I think a lot of people don't do well is they're not social on social media. So go in, interact with that person's content, comment on a couple of things, start building that relationship. And then the other thing that is really key is what goes on your profile.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have the audience. How
Yeah.
do I best serve the audience? How do I get their attention?
So there's a couple of pieces. First of all, you have the way that you set up your profile, and then you have the content that goes on the profile, right? So here are the suggestions that I would make in terms of setting up your own profile. And this works both personal and business. Your personal page can be used to generate business. There's a misconception out there that Facebook's going to shut you down if you talk about business on your personal page. That's not true. And the reason why your personal page is so valuable on Facebook is because the reach is so much higher than a business page. So if you're looking to build something without having to pay for ads, your personal page is going to be the moneymaker, because basically the reason behind it is you set up a business page and you're waving a flag in the air and saying, hey, Facebook, I'm a business. And Facebook's going to say, well, we're a business too. So we want you to pay to play, which is why the reach on your business page is never great. And so on your personal page, though, this is where the social media platform part of it really comes in. The algorithm loves anything that feels social. So when you post something and, and people are interacting with it and you're interacting with someone else, then you're triggering to Facebook that the two of you are interested in each other's stuff. And therefore it's going to show up in their feed more.
Way more. You're going to start showing up way more in their feed. Yep. I love it.
So your profile banner is the first thing that we usually look at. It's the biggest piece of real estate that you have on your personal profile. And it's also the worst used. So most people have a picture of their dog or a sunset or some flowers or, and they're not using it effectively. That is actually the billboard part of your actual profile. So on there, you should have a large photo of yourself that's casual. Let's say you're working with upsizers and you have a young family, a picture of you and one of your kids, but something that's casual that looks inviting. Mm-hmm. Then you also want to have your value proposition statement on that banner. So we're past the days of taglines.
So you're not talking about like honesty, integrity, hard working, because that's what I see in everybody.
Yeah. And we also don't need like your local real estate, I don't know, dude. Or something like that. Like we don't need like the tagline anymore. Taglines are being replaced with value proposition statement or I help statements. And the formula for a really good I help statement is really simple. It's I help who achieve what using the name of your methodology or your signature system. So even if you're a brand new agent, you still want to have a name for your service because it makes it a lot more professional. The average person, the general public, thinks that every agent does exactly the same thing and we all make it up as we go. So as soon as you have a methodology or a process that is named, it immediately increases your credibility.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say like I help upsizing families in urban Toronto, or I help young professionals in urban Toronto upsize, you know, in a tax friendly, I don't know, whatever you're going to say, right?
Yeah.
Using my alignment method or whatever you're going to call it. So what we want to do is make sure that like the value proposition statement is in the banner and really clear. The third thing and the last thing you want to have in your banner is a call to action. So your alignment method or your upsizing method or whatever your methodology is, that then needs an asset, a guide, an explanation of what it is and who it's for. Now, and it says, you know, click here to download my upsizing guide. Someone clicks on it, the link shows up. They click on the link, they enter a first name and an email address, they get sent the guide. The guide is then something that they keep and that over time they can refer back to. So even if they're not ready to move today, they have a valuable piece of something in order to stick with them. And then you have an email address and an opt-in.
I love it. Okay, so everybody rewind. And speed of implementation is everything.
Always.
So I take your advice right now. I run with it. Over the weekend, I set all of that up. What should my expectation be in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
So there's more than just that. So
okay, keep going.
That is basically, you know, as an example, you know, when someone tags you, every agent has been tagged a million times in some community group that says, hey, I'm looking for a realtor in Metro Detroit or whatever, right? And you get tagged and there's 100 other people tagged. That person who clicks on your name is then going to go to your profile and think, oh, this doesn't look like every other agent's profile.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't, first of all, 100% private. So open your profile up. This is also, this actually looks like someone who is a professional, right? And then we get to content, because the next thing that they're going to do is they're going to start scrolling through your content and they're going to want to see what you're all about. So there's 3 buckets of content that you need to have in order to make sure that this person sees exactly what they need to psychologically choose you. So we need authority content, and I'll go through all of these in detail.
Okay.
Authority content, personal content, and social proof. And if you're brand new, you're not going to have any social proof. That's okay. Because over time, every single client that you have, it's your goal to get more social proof. So, and when I say social proof, I don't mean just listed, just sold posts. Okay. So just listed, just sold posts are really not value. And if somebody's actively looking for property, they're not going to see something that's just listed on your profile that they haven't already seen on realtor.ca or, you know, somewhere else. So let's start with authority content. Authority content is whoever your target demographic is. And I'm a really big believer in having a niche. Mm-hmm. So figuring out who are you targeting, what are their pains, problems, fears, and desires. So we always start with market research before we actually start creating content so that we understand what is the driver behind this person's move. People don't move because it's fun. You know, I don't know. I've moved recently. I don't recommend it. It's not a great time, but we do it because there's something in our current situation that we believe will be better if we move, right? Either we don't have enough space, or it's a school district thing, or the kids are fighting over the single bathroom, or I need a parking spot. So I don't like my life. I'm wasting half an hour every night looking for a parking spot, whatever it is. We believe that our current situation will be better in another location. So you start with all of that, you do some market research, then authority content. So authority content is really going to be the answers to all the questions that these people have, right? And so it's, you know, every question a client asks you, every question that you think is valuable based on the market research that you've done, tips and tricks, Just things like that are all going to build into authority content. The other thing is explaining your system or your methods through content will also help people choose you, because they're not waiting until you're doing a listing presentation to actually learn about what you do. Then we have personal content, which is the piece that most agents don't do because they're afraid of not being professional. So personal content, how can you know someone, like someone, or trust someone if you know nothing about them?
Yeah.
Right? So people connect with other people. People make decisions emotionally before they make them logically. So we need someone to emotionally choose you, which is going to be your personal content. It's going to be things like, stories about your family, the first deal you ever did, your most embarrassing moment, what you did this weekend, things like that. They don't have to be super deep, but people will connect with you faster if you have a little bit of vulnerability in there.
Yeah.
So, but the rule with personal content is don't talk about your mess until you've cleaned it up. Because we've all seen the personal content stuff out there on some ones where you're like, oh, wow, like you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And people don't want to hire an agent who's in the middle of a personal crisis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So that's personal content. Now, social proof are going to be things like case studies, testimonials, and PR or media. So a testimonial, everyone knows what a testimonial is.
Right.
My biggest piece of advice for a testimonial is take a screenshot. Don't take it and put it in Canva and make it beautiful. And the reason behind it is, unfortunately, we live in a world where reviews and testimonials are faked.
Yeah.
Right? So what the most trustworthy way of doing it, it's not maybe the most beautiful, but it's going to be the most authentic, is just to take a screenshot and use the full screenshot. If you have to blur out that person's name, totally fine. Download the app Sketch and you can blur it out without making a big scribble on it so that it looks messy.
Yeah.
So that's testimonials. Now, case studies. Case studies are magic. Okay. So case studies are essentially you talking about the journey that your client went on. You are just the bridge. You're just the guide, right? But what you're doing is you're celebrating what's like the journey that your client went through. And of course, the assumption is that you were there and you were the catalyst to all of this wonderfulness happening. But it's without the humble brag and that I'm number one, look at me, tooting your own horn stuff that people are so sick of when it comes to realtors. So, and this is an example I use all the time. We love stories, right? Human beings love stories. Stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. HGTV is an entire network that is like one of the most successful networks ever. It's 100% case studies. Whether you want to love it or list it or flip or flop or live the Caribbean life, you're living vicariously through the people that you're watching. Mm-hmm. And it's exactly the same thing when you create a really great case study. And this can be done written or video, but someone else who is in those shoes with the same fears and the same pain points is going to look at this story from someone else and go, oh, that's where I am. That's where I want to be. I want that to be me. And they're going to reach out to you. Right? So case studies are magic. And then your third one is PR or media. And this is really just, can you get on podcasts? Can you get quoted in articles? Can you have articles written about you? And a lot of this comes down to, you don't have to be the most famous agent in your market. Reporters are just content creators and they're always looking for content. And so all you need is a relationship. So, Help a Reporter Out is a website that's really great. Make an account on Help a Reporter Out, do some pitches on there. Reach out to a reporter that does a lot of stuff on real estate in your local market. Maybe you can form a relationship there or give that person some value, and then your name gets printed. And you can use that not only to access this whole other audience that you don't already have, but also you're able to use that piece of PR in front of your current audience to increase credibility and authority.
What you just shared is like literally a marketing, it's like a box. You open it up and there's the whole entire recipe.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you can't make it any more simple than that. And the reason I'm saying that is because, like, I don't know if you can tell already, like, I genuinely just want to help everyone that listens to this podcast, like their life, depends on it. And that's why I get very specific in very detailed. And I just want to say, thank you very much. You've gone very deep. And I know somebody's going to take this and it's going to transform their business. But I do have a question in regards to the content. Because I know some people are going to be asking, like, is this, via images? Is this via, text? Is this via video? Because, a lot of people don't want to get on video.
So what I would suggest is no infographics. People don't pay attention to infographics. And I think the mistakes that a lot of agents make is they, will put an infographic up with, a market update, and people don't know how to interpret that information, right? So instead, what if you did a video? And the key, and I got this actually, there's somebody in our program who's done very well with market updates. And his key line is, here's what this means for you.
Yep.
Distill the information for the client. Be that local expert that people can say, okay, I'm going to go to this person for the information that I need, and it's going to be fed to me in a way that I understand it. So the rest of the content, ideally 50% video, 50% written. Your written content, yes, should always be accompanied by an image of you, your adorable kid, or your dog or cat. That's it. We don't want photos of staircases or kitchens or houses unless you are in the photo of the house.
Yeah, that's too common. Everybody else is doing it.
And honestly, it doesn't catch the eye. We're attracted to human faces.
Yep.
So here's this is going to make your life so much easier. The next time you're at a listing getting photos taken, ask that photographer to take 5 photos of you. And do that every single time you have a listing, you're getting listing photos taken. You will get professional photos done in a relevant setting, and it's super easy, and they're going to be great. And it's free, essentially free, right?
I love it.
So, but also on top of that, you can take all kinds of photos with a phone, right? When I got my license, we could not take photos with a phone. So, we all have computers in our pockets. The cameras are amazing. Take photos, everywhere you go, because you never know what you're going to be able to use. I really think that the more authentic your photos are and the more your personality comes out, the better they're going to perform anyway. So written content accompanied by a photo, video content, keep it short and sweet, under a minute, right? Get to the point, give them the stuff. The reason why video content works so well is actually not because video is better. It's just people, in order to build a relationship and feel comfortable with someone, need to be able to hear their voice and see that person's face. And you get to know so much more about someone when you actually see them on video. You get a vibe from someone, right? Yeah, I always say that, like, people are attracted to the people who vibrate at a higher frequency than they do. Yes. Right. And so people don't get that from writing.
Right. And just what I saw somewhere is a study, and I can't quote who it was because I don't remember. And it was like, when people discover you, they binge on your videos. And if they binge for a total of about 90 minutes, by the time you get to the appointment, they're already a yes.
They're bought in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's the key here, right? Build the relationship. If you're a really good marketer, you don't have to be a good salesperson.
Yeah.
There's no selling to do.
Yeah, because perception is reality. What you're putting out there tells the world who you are, and then people assume that that's who you really are, even if that's not who you really are.
Yep.
I'm not saying don't be who you are, but you know what I mean. And I'll tell you, specifically for my business and the business of a lot of the people that I work with, I cannot tell you how many times my clients come back to me and tell me, like, by the time they get to the appointment, like, literally the seller says, well, I've watched that video, and I saw you have a family, and that's a different kind of conversation, other than
whole other different level
bathrooms and stuff like that. There's a connection. And like you said earlier, people make the decisions based on the emotion first. Yeah. And if they feel that connectedness, then that being that connected what that does is it eliminates question marks in the mind of the prospect, and it eliminates objections and all the setbacks that come when you're interviewing for the job of selling somebody's home. This has been great, and I know we can go on forever talking about Facebook and stuff like that, but there's something else I want to talk about. And that is the mindset, because I know, like, I'm playing devil's advocate and everything, okay? I know there's somebody out there that's gonna do it, and they may not see a response right away. Just like with everything else, it doesn't matter whether you're calling for sell by owners, expireds, or online marketing, or
someone's gonna kill it, someone's not.
So they're not gonna get like that traction or that evidence right away, and and you know, if they don't have the proper mindset, they're gonna say, well, this is screw this doesn't work, I'm gonna go on to the next shiny object kind of thing. Can we talk a little bit about like the importance of mindset? Like, you didn't earn 7 figures not having a good solid mindset, you know what I mean?
No. And I think that I have a coach who says all the time, I'm 100% responsible for 100% of my experience. And I'm 100% responsible for 100% of my results. And I say this in our program all the time when someone's saying, hey, I'm creating content, I'm not getting a lot of traction. And I'm like, okay, look at your content. Would you follow you?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that outside perspective, or, results. And this is also something that I have a banner that I use at my live events that say results don't take time, they take courage.
I love that.
So are you being courageous? Are you getting deep? Are you really giving of yourself in your content? Because better content creates better results. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a better writer or you have to be better on video. It's genuinely about who are you? Who are you being when you show up or when you create this content? And I think that that's also something that's massively important, right? If I can take 2 pieces of content that are on exactly the same topic and are giving the same information, and one of them is really going to stand out and the other one is going to feel kind of rushed through.
Yeah.
Right. And so, part of this is really, it's a craft and it needs to be developed over time. And, the more content you create, the faster you're going to be at it and the better it's going to be.
So it's not going to be perfect right out the gate.
Oh gosh, no.
And my words of caution for everyone that's watching this is that don't wait till you get it perfect before you put it out. As coach always said, get it going, then get it right.
So I always say perfectionism is just procrastination in a cuter outfit.
Yeah, I like that.
So
that's quotable.
If you're waiting for perfection, you're too late. If you're not embarrassed of your first round, you waited too long.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, none of us get better if we don't just put stuff out there. And anything to do with marketing is testing. You can be the best marketer in the world. I mean, I've gotten to a point now where I can bang out content that I know is going to work and is going to resonate. But every once in a while, I'll write something and I'm like, this is a winner. And it flops.
Yep.
And it's fine because it's feedback. And I think that looking at marketing as data is really, really important. It has nothing to do with who you are or what your worth is. It's just, okay, this didn't work. Great. Let's look at why. Let's look at another angle. Maybe people are not connecting with it this way. I don't get it, but that's fine. Let's try something else. And really being able to look at, there's something that happens a lot where I'll ask someone in one of my programs a question. They say, well, I feel like, and I'll say, feelings are not facts. I don't want to know what you feel like. I want to know what are the insights? What do the numbers say?
Yeah.
Right? What's the research? Because at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. Is a lot of the time people are feeling things. I feel like things are going really well in my business right now. And I'm like, okay, good. Show me your numbers. Oh, I'm not tracking. And I'm like, well, you're running a business. What do you mean you're not tracking? Right? And how do we know what's working and what's not working if we're not tracking it?
Yeah, tracking is critically important because the numbers don't lie. The numbers
Exactly.
point you in the right direction. As a
Mhm.
matter of fact, the numbers also save you a lot of time and a lot of money because they take you away from the hole that you've been digging for yourself that you're unaware of
Yeah.
before it's too late.
Yep.
Okay, so Jess, we talked a lot about, like, Facebook marketing, online
Mhm.
marketing, and I just want to add something to that for the other person that's not currently doing it, and why they need to do it is because
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what your method of lead generation is. You could meet somebody at an open house, or you
Mhm.
could, call a for sale by owner or an expired or whatever. That person immediately turns into an online lead because they are going to look you up on Facebook and Instagram and maybe YouTube or wherever.
It's your
And if
new
you
website.
were, yeah, and if you were near to be found, then chances are somebody else is going to pop up on the screen and they're going to go to the next person. So all of this, if anything, worst case scenario, it's going to enhance, okay, your lead conversion and all the other areas as
100%.
well too.
Mhm.
You feel that way, right?
100%. I think that that's so important. And we search for people differently than we used to. No one's going to the yellow pages anymore to look for a service provider.
Hmm.
I don't Instagram is becoming such a service provider search engine, right? So I think it's really, really important to not only have your profile set up really well so that you are like, creating mini funnels out of your little, your bios and things like that, but that people are getting enough information and enough content from you that is valuable and personal, and it's backed by that social proof so that they can see everything that they need in order to say yes. That's where inbound business comes from. It's not because, you have the best billboard out there. That billboard, someone will remember your name, then they're going to go online and they're going to look you up. Chances are, if you've ever searched someone's name on Google, the first thing that shows up is not their website, it's their Facebook. So, it's really making sure that you're covering your bases properly and you're allowing those people to go deeper with you without it having to take time, energy, and bandwidth.
I love it. Jess, I'm sitting there thinking to myself right now, and I'm like, okay, so yes, we are going to put this on the podcast, and I'm thinking to myself, I want to get this in the hands of like my personal coaching clients ASAP.
Cool.
Yeah, we train them on all that stuff, and sometimes hearing it from another person,
Oh, always. Yeah.
especially from you, because you're so awesome.
Thank you.
The run with it. And I know for our listeners right now, there's somebody out there and they'll be like, oh my goodness, this is so fantastic. Where's Jess been all my life? How do I get me a little bit more of that awesomeness? How can people, connect with you, find out more about, what you give away for free, and,
Mhm.
and how you could help them out in their business or whatever?
So my Facebook group is probably the best place. It's called the Listings Lab Method for Real Estate Agents. I'll send you the link. You can throw them in the show
Yeah,
notes.
please.
And there's about, as of now, there's just over 19,000 agents in there. There is
That's
no
it.
one in there that is not a
Wow.
licensed realtor.
I
So
love it.
there's no mortgage brokers. There's no one that's going to be pitching you anything. It's all agents. There's thousands of trainings in there. So everything that I talked about today, there's tons and tons more. I also run webinars and things like that when people, need stuff. So it's probably the best place to go and binge content.
So it's called we're going to put it in the show notes, but just in
Yeah.
case somebody's on a treadmill right now and they want to remember, can you
Yeah.
repeat that one more time, the name of the group?
Yep. It's the Listings Lab Method for Real Estate Agents.
Got it. I love it. I love it. And just, is there a question that you feel like I should have asked you today that I did not ask you that I need to ask you before we are done today?
I don't know. You were pretty good.
So say that one more time. That sounded, no, I'm messing.
I don't know. I think, the one thing that I think is really important is that people need to realize that social media and being online is kind of non-negotiable now. All business, this is just science, right? So, if you want to, this is natural selection. If you want to survive and thrive, Doesn't matter if you're, a species or you're a business. The ones that do the best and the ones that really do survive and thrive are the ones that are the most adaptable.
Yeah.
And the way that we live and the rate at which technology and social media is moving, the longer you wait, the further behind you are and the harder it is to actually catch up. And we just don't want you to be Blockbuster. So I think it's super important that you look at your business in terms of, where are things going, and the businesses that really do. I mean, there's a million ways to be successful. And I will never tell you that there's only one way, because there's not. But I do think that the internet isn't going anywhere.
Nope.
And the way that we consume information has changed, and it's not going backwards. So, the more updated you can be, the more success that you're going to find. And just like Chadi and I talked about earlier, growth can be exponential, and it doesn't have to be hard. It just needs to be smart.
And the smartest thing that you can do is find someone that's already done it and just walk in their footsteps. Like, how long would it have taken you to figure out, oh, well, I don't got a good banner. I got a tagline that needs to go down. I mean, follow, and that's the smart way to do it. And it doesn't have to take a long time. It will take a little bit of time, but not a lot of bit of time. So, Jess, I thank you very much for, carving out, time from your personal day to share with our audience today. To my audience, I appreciate you for being a loyal subscriber to the Top Listing Agent Show. If you found this episode to be helpful for you, and someone else in our real estate community that you want to help out, please share it with them and leave us a comment. I want to know your feedback. What do you think of Jess? As a matter of fact, I want you to just go there and say, Jess, that was freaking damn awesome. I want to get her at least 100 compliments on this episode. So make sure you do that, and make sure you join the Listings Lab, as there are, she said, hundreds, if not thousands of hours worth of free content, a good place for you to learn the things you need to learn to grow your business. Jess, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure.
Awesome. You rock star.